Bust it.
Hello and welcome to Political Platform. My name is Ait Political. Here we do politics, we talk politics, we think politics, and we'll be giving you political and economic developments in Nigeria in the last 24 hours or so. And the Senate yesterday blamed the delay in the passage of the 2018 appropriation bill on the attitude of heads of ministries, departments, and agencies whom they accuse of not turning up into the National Assembly for budget defense sessions and providing the much needed details of the budgets that was submitted to both chambers of the National Assembly by the President. It flows from our commitment to track the budget passage process to find out what is really keeping that bill from being passed. A bill that, if it becomes law, would go a long way in affecting the welfare of Nigerians. And on today's edition of the program, we'll be speaking with the Deputy Chairman of Appropriation, House of Representatives, for his input. Is the House also experiencing lack of cooperation from the MDAs? That's the first question we'll be posing. But the Senate is also probing resumption of Antonio Ojukwu as Executive Secretary of National Human Rights Commission. If you recall, the Senate is staying action on confirmation of some officers, some persons appointed by the President, pointing at the continued stay in office of the acting chairman of the EFCC, Ibrahim Magua's reason why it will not take action on any confirmation request from the President. And there were allegations that the man who was appointed by the President, but who is yet to be confirmed by the Senate, has resumed work. And the Senate is not happy, so they have asked one of their committees, the Committee on Human Rights, to investigate. We'll be giving you details of appointments made by the President that are awaiting a Senate confirmation. 34 of them, and their continued stay out of office, the fact that they have not resumed is impacting negatively on the country's development. And we have one man who has come up to announce his bid to become president of Nigeria in 2019. Kingsley Moyalo was before now the deputy governor of the central bank. He did not announce the party on whose platform he hopes to ride, but he says his group, his movement, they are watching the scene, and very soon they would take that decision on which of the parties they are going to align with. And Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released dates for elections, not just for 2019, but a 36-year period that will end in 2055, general elections. How many of us will be around then? INEC says they are planning ahead, and once you begin to plan ahead, then you short-circuit most of the problems you encounter. My colleagues are with me in the studio. Joe J is very much around.
Amici, that question you asked, how many of us will still be around? You'll be surprised. I will still be around by then.
We hope to be around.
I think that it's a good thing that we're beginning to make long-term plans in this country. At least when you plan long-term, then you're able to work in line with the plan, and things will be things will be done in a more orderly way. You can work towards your goals. You can work towards your vision. We are gradually getting somewhere.
Ijoma Osama will be around, hopefully too, by 2055, when the last.
Of course, I'll still be alive. I will still be alive, and I'll witness it. Amechi, INEC didn't just announce this date today. It was announced sometime last year when they launched their 5-year term strategic plan. And that's inside that strategic plan, which they have released. They have released the strategic plan and the plan of programs of elections in Nigeria. That was when they gave us the hint that these are the things they will do. Elections in Nigeria, especially the presidential election, is you already know when it will happen, the date and month it will happen every year. And they have said it is very good for Nigerians to know this so that they can plan well before that time. So if you take a good look at the publication released of the strategic plan and the strategic plan of program that they released last year, you will know that all these things are contained in it. But what I am looking at is after Professor Mahmood Yakubu, what happens? Because in Nigeria here, we have problem of policy implementation and keeping it till the end.
You're very right. If you take a look at the order of elections and dates of elections since 1999, when democracy returned to the country, different administration in INEC will do it their own way. So are there chances that once the tenure of Mahmood is over, a 2 term of I think 5 years each, will demand that will succeed him, that is if he is going to exhaust the 2 terms, will he want to key into this timetable and strategic plan announced by INEC? But INEC is saying that there are some democracies such as the United States that you already know their dates of elections. Second Tuesday in November of an election year. No doubt that is the pattern, and I think that's what they are trying to replicate here. But you also raise the question of whether the environment, political system and environment in US is the same with what we have in Nigeria. Deborah Bodri completes our number.
Yeah, Amishi, let me say that for the first time, I will applaud the Electoral Commission. This document that was made public last year, that you're now talking about, was not just done by INEC alone. They took inputs from different people, stakeholders. And I do recall that when the final report was put together, there was a 2-day brainstorming in Abuja here. I happened to have attended those brainstorming sessions. And what came out boldly is that we should emulate what is good in other climes. For example, our neighboring country, our neighbor, Ghana, for instance, when they have a date for election, even if it is on Sunday, on Saturday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, or whatever day, the date is certain. And it gives room for planning. And so an election cycle is something that has to be respected. It's not something that you just wake up one morning and be talking about. So with what they have done, we can even project for the next 100 years, if our democracy is not truncated, and I do hope it will never be truncated, that when election we hold, so that people can start planning towards it. It's not a case where a group of people will now come around, toy with it and throw it away. I think Nigeria, if they do, Nigeria should just to kick against such move, because we need to be doing things the way it is done in decent societies.
And that's why we say let's strengthen our institutions. Once we strengthen our institutions, it will be very, very difficult for anybody to just come in and upturn good plans like this.
Especially if the plans are, like he said, flowed from stakeholders' input and objective criteria and its consideration. Talking of borrowing from international best practices, you mentioned Ghana, our neighbors. It is a country where elections have been held on work days, and there were no public holidays. You vote, you leave your office, go to the police station, vote, and return back to your office. But in Nigeria, local council elections in Abuja, for instance,
there will be restriction of movement.
And Abuja is supposed to be an international city that affects those foreign visitors coming in. Look at what happened in Delta local council election just early first days of January. Those that were moved from Lagos to their states of origin to celebrate the end of year festivities were trapped just because one state was.
Let me tell you one interesting thing. Some years back, I was in Canada and I placed order for a laptop, and I went to the shop to collect the laptop. And when I entered the place, I came late compared to the time I gave the man, because I was also involved in some other things. And by the time I got there, the guys...
The usual Nigerian attitude.
No, not Nigerian attitude. No, not Nigerian attitude. I went somewhere else and I apologized to him and said, can you give me 10 minutes? I want to go and vote. Can I give you coffee or tea? I said, okay, give me coffee. And they prepared coffee for me. and I was still sipping the coffee.
When he came back,
he stepped out, went to cast his vote, and returned to his office to attend to me. 10 minutes.
Well, is the power of introducing a technology in voting. We'll get there one day. At any point with your voter card, which is digital compliant, you can walk in anywhere and vote, especially for presidential elections.
But Amechi, if we get there, we still need to educate the minds of Nigerians. We need to make them understand that things work when you do it right. Because in this is one country, when you bring up a new program, a new policy and program, and someone out there is thinking of how to make use of that negatively. By the time we go into EA voting, you should imagine what happened in one of the African countries. We have very brilliant brains. They don't use their brains to do good things. They just use their brains to manipulate things against another. So we should educate the minds of Nigeria, try to strengthen our democracy and the institutions in Nigeria. Then we will get there.
And then let's enlighten our people. Because I was just thinking to myself, okay, even with restriction of movement, like in Abuja here, we saw what happened, the kind of fight that attended even just a by-election. Even with the restriction of movement, you have bloodshed, you have even people dying. So if there was no restriction of movement,
you can
what
imagine.
would happen? God help
anyway,
us.
Let's take your mails. Let's bring in your comments, your suggestions on topical national issues and also issues raised on this program.
Welcome to the mail segment. I am Usaiti Nyari.
My name is Chidima, and you're welcome.
We begin with reactions to the elections timetable released by INEC. Collins Ilo in Abuja says the publication of elections timetable is a pointer that INEC has a lot of time for frivolities. I was thinking that a commission saddled with the huge task of conducting free and fair elections in 2019 would be very busy and not have time to draw an unimplementable timetable for over 20 future elections. They should improve the continuous voters registration exercise and also do something about underage voters.
Still on INEC matters, Godfrey Enahoro from Ogun State writes on voters registration. He says, "Hello Political Platform crew. I am adding my voice to the issue of current voters registration going on across the country. Inasmuch as I appreciate effort by INEC so far, I will appreciate if INEC will include Saturdays to accommodate those who work for longer hours, civil servants, and those who work in one state and reside in another to use Saturdays to register, because during election proper, there will be no movement. Keep up with your good work."
Away from that, Dixon Eka in Abuja says the confusion and abracadabra in the All Progressives Congress is too much, as President Buhari has not taken time to build the party and coordinate it as the ruling party that it ought to have been. The extension of Oyegun's tenure and the adoptions from state chapters of the party contradict the Peace Committee of the Ahmed Bola Tinubu as set up by the president. If Oyegun is that good, then the party would have opted for a convention and re-elect him. If this extension and adoption were going to come, the president should have waited for the next meeting of the party before setting up the Tinubu's one-man committee. It is now clear that the state governors want to control the party machineries in their state and wouldn't want the one-man national leader of the party to continue, particularly in taking decision on who emerges as candidates.
Still on APC, Hakim Kazim from Lagos State writes and saying, "With the extension of the APC National Working Committee by the National Executive Council by 1 more year, the steam of the so-called Tinubu Reconciliation Committee set up by the president a fortnight ago is probably dead on arrival. With the concurrence of all state chairmen on the tenure elongation, the Tinubu Reconciliation Committee is dead on arrival, and he might find himself in a wide ghost chase and grand conspiracy. The important lesson to be learnt by Asiwaju is to know and acknowledge that there is no permanent friend, but only permanent interest. Now that he has shown to be not so indispensable in the APC, he needs to go back to the drawing board and re-strategize to ensure his survival and relevance in the scheme of things. As a strategic thinker that he is, I wish him divine guidance, understanding, knowledge, and wisdom to navigate his slippery and murky political water. Thank you." And this is where we wrap it up on the mail segment today. We hope to get more from you tomorrow. It's Political Platform at yahoo.com.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. This Political Platform, let's go straight to what we have promised you for this. The state of the 2018 appropriation bill. We were preempted by the Senate yesterday. The issue came up, and after contributions, they heaped the blame on the doorsteps of heads of ministries, departments, and agencies. They say they're in the habit of not coming over to the National Assembly for budget defense sessions and provision of the necessary details that will aid the consideration of the budget and its passage. But we have with us on telephone now the Deputy Chairman, Appropriation Committee of the House of Representatives, Honorable Chris Azubog. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Is it the same problem with the House as what the Senate said yesterday, or are you having different challenge in terms of passage of the budget?
It's a total National Assembly issue. It's not.
So it's still the same problem of the executive, members of the executive not cooperating fully.
MDAs. It's not only part of the ministry, department, and agencies of government trying to liaise with oversighting committees. Those standing committees in the House are subcommittees of appropriation committees. And there are so many agencies. And because the amount of money to be spent is very large and goes to different heads. Look at the paramilitary, look at the all the agencies, look at the ministries and departments. All those things require only the National Assembly to go through all the proposals, cross the T's and dot the I's, and engage with them. You know that for you to pass an appropriation budget, it's supposed to be accompanied with documents, budget performance of the last 18 months, and all these things, considering what has happened with the challenges with 2017 implementation, until recently, we have to go for a roadshow to raise funds for the awards. You can see a lot of works are being awarded presently in 2017, and all the level of implementation will determine what will be put in 2018. Like, you can't give somebody for a project that's been approved 100 naira when in 2017 he has been given 30 or 40 naira out of it. You still put 100 naira. You need to ascertain how much he has received so that we don't craft a law that will be counterproductive. If he has received 40 out of 100, then you will make sure that they don't put 100. Because at the time they brought the proposal, they put 100. But now that they've released money, they've not removed the 40 that has been given to them. We need to ascertain how much has been paid, how much has been executed, go to see those things before we say finally they have done 40% out of 100. We are now giving you 60% because the 40% will be extra budget that doesn't make any meaning. That money will be appropriated where its funds are needed. That is the details of the work. That is the thoroughness of the job. It's not like anybody is trying to delay the budget. We want to ascertain that because with the demands all over the nation for meager resources that we have, you make sure that all the monies that are appropriated to agencies and their heads are specific to their needs. Anyone that has excess can be removed. Anyone that don't have enough, you take what where you have excess, give to those.
Why do you think the MDAs will not be cooperating with the National Assembly? It's a key national critical document.
No, they are not cooperating. There's a high level of work for everybody. The same people are awarding the job. The other people are people supervising. The people are, for you to face National Assembly, you must be coordinated. You can call the person in procurement. The person in accounts say they have not received certificate, they have not paid. There's a lot of coordination even in MDA. So we understand the peculiarity. That's why enough time is needed to ascertain the extent of work done. If you call head of agency, you need to put himself together from planning to procurement to execution to account.
Yeah, let me ask you this question.
Sometimes you are faced with questions that are tough, you don't have the answer. So you need to be ready. When we write you need to be prepared to come and face. Because when we go to Accountant General's office, they tell us that they release also amount to you. We call you to come and give accounts. The processes, even before agencies will pay, they have to do internal audit to verify what they are paying for.
But it has not always. It has not always been like this. Why is it different this time?
Budget is not. There is already a subsisting budget, and that one that was done before needs to be properly done. It's not even. It still has a life. So let them not feel that it's not stopping. The provision the Constitution makes clear provisions on the way we implement budgets. This one is still part of budget as approved.
Honorable, last weekend, the president came out and said the friction between the legislative arm of government and the executive arm of government is affecting governance. Openly, he said that.
I don't believe, from my own perspective, that we're having any major friction. Maybe at the top level, we at normal level in the National Assembly and the MDAs are busy doing work. Maybe at the pinnacle of it. As I'm talking to you as somebody who is engaging at a lower level, we are not into this. This is what everybody is doing for the good of the nation. It's beyond party, it's beyond anybody. This is about Nigeria. The MDAs are working. We are not interested in picking up any word that is political or statement that will try to hit up politics. Work is going on, and if you go everywhere, ask contractors working for federal government, everybody is mobilizing to sites. These are things that are trying to, jumpstart the economy. The government is spending money. The government is working. Everybody is doing what they can to make sure that projects that are awarded are implemented. Contractors are moving up and down. Some of them are working and they are paid. People are mobilizing to sites. This is dry season. Everybody will encouraged to work up to the time that no work can be done. Things are going on.
Honorable Azubogu, a lot of Nigerians are worried that the non-passage of the appropriation bill is actually shortchanging Nigerians at this point in time. They may not even, see it from the angle that you are telling us this morning. When will the budget be passed? When will it be passed?
No. The fact remains that passage of budget doesn't mean implementation of budget. Budget was passed 2017. Has it been implemented fully? Is it not a budget? How is it affecting them? The one that was passed has not, that is being implemented, procured. Money spent, contractors paid, money bought the tenders. 1 hour spent by ministries, salaries paid. And the process is almost at concluding stage. And that is what is being driven. And we people are saying executives, let us implement this before we talk of another one.
How do we short-circuit this problem? How do we go beyond this problem, if not for 2018 appropriation bill, but future appropriation bills?
The budget of 2018 was passed in June. It still has a life of 12 months. By the time we conclude with the executive, all the jobs that are awarded for 2017 that are ongoing will be rolled over along with 2018 budget. It's not a problem at all. Okay. The government is working. Nobody is being disturbed. It's not about saying that. Some people are talking about policy. We are talking about governance.
Let me ask you this last question. Let me ask you this last question on a lighter note too. Some observers may say the MDAs are avoiding the National Assembly because they don't want to negotiate behind the scene. You understand what I mean?
Well, nobody is negotiating with anybody. If they call you, you are bound to come to the National Assembly. They can't avoid National Assembly. And when they finish, the National Assembly members will go and verify what your claims. They will go on-site visit. Most committees are overdoing oversight, making sure that their claims, that will work to determine what they will approve for them. You can't write, I've told you before, if there is 10 naira proposal on a project that is already in the, and the same project has been, in the last 2 months, we have released 14 naira for that project. You still want us to approve 100 naira. They say we're not allowed to our work. National Assembly, they're taking their time before they will append their name or their signature on that, they will cross-verify.
So as it were, you can't put your finger to a month, a week, or a day that this budget may be passed by the National Assembly.
Excuse me, the leadership of the House and everybody, they are working assiduously. We have a date in the mind that in the shortest possible time we will deliver the approved budget.
What's the date on your mind?
Everybody's looking at before the end of this month. That's 1st March.
Okay, thank you so much. Honorable Chris Azubogu is the Deputy Chairman of Appropriation Committee, House of Representatives, the committee that is saddled with responsibility of dealing with the appropriation bill. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I think we need to reach out to the executive arm of government, maybe perhaps the presidential aides at the National Assembly, to respond to this with the allegation that the MDAs and the ministers are not doing what they ought to do in fast-tracking the process of passing the budget.
Uju, we have a presidential declaration. Kingsley Moyalu, former deputy governor of the CBN, he says he has what it takes, but no platform yet.
Well, Amechi, Honestly, I feel gladdened, by the caliber of persons that are now coming out for the presidential race. Apart from technocrats, people who are cerebral, people who are achievers in their own rights. They have been able to manage companies, manage businesses successfully. Now you can say, oh, these people have at least what it takes to plan for the nation, because you must.
But do they have what it takes to do the politics?
No, hold on. I'm coming there. The thing is, if apart from Kingsley Moghalu, there's another young man, Femi Durotoye, and I see a Macron coming up in Nigeria, and I'm desiring that. But I just pray that the proposal for independent candidacy would sail through, so that it will give an umbrella to people like this, or that at least our political parties will begin to flow with global trend to bring up these young ones to fly the flags.
Yes, there are many of them coming up. There is Tokwe Fashua too has come out. He even has a platform. Abundance. He has a platform now. Abundant Party of Nigeria.
He registered a party for himself.
No, he said they are online every day recruiting members.
Okay, the more the merrier. Thank you so much for being part of today's edition. When we come back tomorrow or next, we'll take a look at the action of the Kwara State House of Assembly, where they cut down the huge benefits for as a severance package and pension for ex-political office holders. If you go to some states, Akwa Ibom, Edo, so many of them, huge and unnecessary for political office holders, former governors and deputies, where the bulk of the public servants are still struggling to earn their salary while they are in service, not to talk of pensions that are always in backlog when they leave office. How do we take the Kwara example to all these states? That will be in future edition. But thank you so much for being part of today's edition. My name is Amiche Napue.